So I've been wanting to make this video for some time, and it's on panic attacks and the art, I guess, of getting through a panic attack. When I see most advice out there, if you just generally Google how do I get through a panic attack or what even is a panic attack, I think a lot of the information out there in my experience, doesn't work. And I want to give you some advice that I think genuinely does work because I have experienced firsthand what panic attacks feel like. I went through a period of having them pretty much every week for 6 months straight, and the worst possible ones you can imagine. And I learned some things during that period, and I learned some things in therapy during that period, and then I've learned some things through studying coherence therapy. Right, all of it comes together. Um, to the point where if I was to get a panic attack now, um, I've become so desensitized to it that I literally allow it to run its course, and I get through it better than I ever have. And I think it would really help people to learn these skills, and they're really deceptively simple skills as well. There's really nothing crazy involved. But if you really engage with them and just learn how to focus your attention in this way, um, I think it can be pretty life changing, because once you get into a spiral and a loop where you become afraid of being afraid, or you become fearful of the fear itself, you become panicky of the feelings of anxiety and of fear itself, then you, as I said, you get into a loop, and that loop can create a downward spiral, which eventually leads into things like agoraphobia, for example, right? And it's easy to kind of get wrapped up in that cycle of the fear of fear, right? And so, having said that, it's also just worth mentioning that panic attacks can have numerous different causes. There isn't one cause of panic attacks. So I'm sitting here as someone, as a practitioner of coherence therapy, right? And I'm involved in the experiential therapy movement. But that doesn't mean that I think that every single panic attack has some unconscious trauma involved in it, because in my experience, that's just simply not true. Sometimes a panic attack can happen because of a neurochemical imbalance, right? Or a metabolic disorder of the mind. Um, a lot of times things like schizophrenia and bipolar disorder are clustered together with other symptoms as well, like panic attacks, panic disorder. It's usually not just schizophrenia. Usually all of these things combine together a lot of the time. And so there are numerous potential different causes for a panic attack, right? A lot of the times it'll be trauma. A lot of the times it'll be PTSD. A lot of the times it can be for absolutely no reason at all. That's why some people have panic attacks when they sleep. They literally just are awoken in the middle of the night by a huge eruption of fear, from the pit of their stomach, right? And they have a huge panic attack. I can't see any reason to think that there would be like some sort of trauma involved in that. Again, maybe there is, but in my experience, and especially panic attacks I was having, um, there was no apparent underlying unconscious driver of that panic. It seemed to be very random, and that's where I believe some sort of metabolic theory of mental health comes in as well, right? It's taking a unified position, it's taking a balanced position on things, and not getting too fundamentalist with our own schools and therapies. Like coherence therapy explains everything, or metabolic psychiatry explains everything, or psychodynamic therapy explains everything, right? It's having a balanced view and trying your absolute best to fit all the pieces together. So all of that is important to say. And so, in my opinion, the best approach to take for a panic attack revolves around the area for panic attacks that are, especially panic attacks that are just happening for no reason. You have no idea why they're happening. They just happen randomly. There's no particular trigger for them. It's to take a kind of a sensory OCD approach. And I really love metacognitive therapy when it comes to this. So if you're interested in that, there's a book called Think Less, Live More by Pia Kalassen, I think. I hope I'm saying that right. That's really, really good at kind of, I guess, ignoring thoughts, right? And allowing them to pass, and all of the metacognitive beliefs that come with that. So I think that approach is good. It will help the kind of the thought spirals that happen kind of before and during and after panic attacks. But if I'm having a panic attack, I remember I would sit there and I'd feel it coming, and the first thing I'd do is I would stand up and I would begin to pace my bedroom. And if that wasn't working, I would have to literally go outside and either like jog or like pace myself even more every time I did that, it made it worse. It just kept spiraling and spiraling and spiraling. Every time I tried to get a handle on it and try to control it in some way, it would get worse and worse and worse. And so I realized that method just doesn't work, right? And if I was with people, I would be terrified of telling other people, because if I told someone, they would immediately look at me like, are you okay? Right? And seeing that on their face, that are you okay, would make me spiral even more, because it would confirm that there's something wrong, right? Something catastrophically wrong. And that kind of goes back to the point I was making with pacing. The second I tried to do something about the panic attack, the very second I tried to do something, I had already bought into the belief that the panic attack is dangerous, and that the eruption of torturous feelings of fear and like fire and heat, that they are in some way dangerous, right? And so it's such a tiny little step that you have to catch, right? It's very subtle, but it's a very subtle little catch, right? You're sitting in bed, you feel the eruption of the room is like feels like it's closing in. It feels like something catastrophic is happening. Something catastrophic is happening. This is dangerous. I need to do something about it, right? The second you take that first step, the step your toe touches the water, the second your toenail touches the water, you're going to fall into the spiral, and then you're caught up in it, right? Your mind then is convinced that the fear is dangerous, the panic is dangerous. That's where the fear comes in, and so then you're having a full blown panic attack, and you're pacing, and you're trying to control it, you're trying to manage it, and whatnot. And so the skill is, and I'm not saying this is easy, and you have to train yourself to do this, is to do absolutely nothing with it, nothing at all, and to develop an absolute trust, an unwavering trust, an unshakable trust that this too shall pass. This is going to pass. Like it always has. In the previous 500 panic attacks that I've had over the last year, every single one of them passed and didn't do anything to me, didn't kill me, nothing happened. They passed. They do not stay forever. Nothing catastrophic has ever happened. And I began to have so many of them that I began to just really internalize and know that for sure, and develop, as I said, it is literally an unwavering trust that this will pass. And so once you have that in mind, you feel it coming, and immediately when it comes to my mind, I just picture a wave in my mind, like, okay, here's the wave, right? I'm like, right, let's buckle in, right? And part of me is actually like, let's do it, let's go, bring it on. And I can feel the wave going up, this intense fear in my body, right? Going up through my arms, my legs, this intense raw, like something catastrophic is happening here, right? And to do absolutely nothing with it, right? And that's kind of the OCD approach is don't give in to the compulsions, right? To do something about it. And in my mind, I'm picturing a wave, and it comes and it comes and it goes, and it's getting more intense. And then we reach a point where like, oh my God, this is unbearable. I'm going to pass out. And then in my mind, I'm like, then let's pass out. Let's pass out. Let's do it. Let's go there. And then it's like, when you're going to die, like you're going to die right now. You're dying right now. Let's die. Let's die right here on this floor. Let's die right in this shopping market. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's do it. And I'm picturing that wave go up, and I'm not doing anything about it except looking at that wave, feeling it, right? And just like always, it peaks and then it starts to come down, and it might go up a little bit again, and then it'll come, and then it'll come down, and then it'll come down, and it passes, right? And the length of that is different for everybody, but it passes. It always does. And so now I'm no longer afraid of panic attacks, because one of the things that can bring on panic attacks is the fear of having more panic attacks, right? And so now for me, there's no fear of ever having a panic attack, and well, they don't happen anymore, but I just don't. I'm not scared of them anymore, because the last few panic attacks I had panic attacks and they were completely fine, right? So why are they no longer coming anymore? It's because I'm not afraid of them anymore. And I've heard this story so many times, is you eventually get to a point where you're like, fuck this, and it's like, kill me right now. And then you start living your life normally. You start going to the shopping markets, you start going to school, you start going to lectures, even though you might have a panic attack. Once you develop that bravery and that trust, then you start going on an upward spiral. You start to go on a downward spiral when you begin to fear the fear, and then it just goes down, down, down into, I need to stay at home all the time because I'm just too terrified to go outside, right? And so that's how I get through a panic attack. Any kind of attempt to try to do meditation or yoga or like breath work to calm myself down, or like even telling somebody else that I'm panicking, because seeing it on their face just makes the whole thing worse. None of that works. None of, in my opinion, none of that actually works. For me, at least, it doesn't work. Um, and so it's really doing nothing. It's doing absolutely nothing about it. And riding that wave, really. And that's a tough skill to learn. It sounds very easy, right? Especially if you've never had a panic attack. Panic attacks are like one of the worst things you can experience, in my opinion. And it's way easier said than done. And so that's why it's a skill that literally has to be learned, is a skill of trust and a skill of riding that wave and a skill of ignoring and doing nothing about it, as impossible as that seems. And then you desensitize to them, and then they go away. In my experience. So that's the art of having a panic attack that I feel works. Because once you're in a panic attack, I don't really think like any kind of unconscious kind of psychotherapeutic work will do anything, because once you're in it, you're in a storm, right? You just have to get through it. You can do the work afterwards to try to figure out why you had the panic attack, but any of that stuff during it, I feel like just makes it worse. And then trying to do mindfulness or any other meditation techniques is, again, giving your mind the message that there's something wrong with the panic. I'm doing meditation. I need to meditate my way out of this. I need to do mindfulness. I need to breathe my way. I need to do all these things, right, to get my way out of it, right? It's just continuously giving yourself the message that right here, there's something wrong, that something needs to be done about this. And again, for me, that just made things so much worse. It just made the panic and the fear so much worse. So yeah, I think that's it. And then I guess where you want to look for the cause of the panic attack afterwards, right? And in my experience, for me, it seemed to be completely random, uncaused. Sometimes it would happen during sleep, just literally just comes out of nowhere, right? And the main problem with me was that I was afraid of it was the fear of the fear that was like really, like, I was terrified of it. When they would just randomly occur. In that case, then I would really kind of go down the psychiatry route. I would really look into, in my opinion, Dr. Chris Palmer, metabolic psychiatry. At Harvard University, they opened the Department of Metabolic Psychiatry. I think it's life-changing. It's the future of psychiatry. You can mark my words on that. I would bet my life on the fact that metabolic psychiatry is the future of psychiatry. So there's something going on with the metabolism of the brain that is or inflammation in the brain that is causing the emotional system to act like this, right? And I'm not an expert on that, but I would usher people towards that path. And there's a book called Brain Energy by Dr. Chris Palmer. Or you can look at Metabolic Mind, the YouTube channel. It's fantastic as well. So that's if it's just random, uncaused, no trigger at all, right? And you've gone to therapy, maybe you've gone to coherence therapy, and you still can't find any trigger. They're just still randomly happening. And then there's the other case of the panic attacks are happening with clear triggers. Like, I'm going to work and I'm about to stand up in front of people and talk, and I'm having a panic attack. Or I'm around my dad, and every time he says this, I have a panic attack. Or I'm at work and I have a deadline due and I'm having a panic attack. Or I have to spend money on this and I'm having a panic attack, right? Whatever it is. In those situations, there is a coherent reason. There is some sort of unconscious reason. And potentially it's both the metabolic and the unconscious, right? The human being is a complex thing. But in my experience, all of those things have very good reasons for why the panic is happening, or reasons at least, right? They're not just happening for no reason, as in the other case. They're happening from some sort of prediction, or from some sort of schema. And I think that can be explored, and I think that you can get to the bottom of that, right? So I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I don't think so, but I really think the most important skill you're going to take away from this is trust. Is trust that it will pass, and do nothing. Right? It sounds stupid at the same time, but do absolutely nothing with it. And then once you get through it, it creates this positive upward spiral, and then you can investigate why it's happening, right? But only after the fact. So I hope that helps. If anyone has any other tips or advice that they has worked for them, maybe you've had panic attacks, you don't have them anymore, and you found a way, you can put it in the comments below and let other people know. And yeah, let me know what you think.